Hey, welcome back to Doubling Down on Freedom. This week, all the help's gone and we paused on the flooring. So we're going straight into drywall. So I'm not a drywall guy, but this week I'm gonna be because they wanted $4,500 to do the job that I'm about ready to do. And I think that I can do a pretty decent job, maybe not $4,500 job because I'm not a professional tradesman, but I think I can do a job that I'm gonna be happy with, my wife's gonna be happy with, and renters would be happy with. If you stay to the end of the video, you'll be able to laugh at how much progress I did or didn't get done and how we're doing in this 4 of 8 week renovation. Let me show you the process we're using to update this house after we removed 6 sets of doors, or 6 doors. As you can see, we have some of the corner bead already on. Pops was here yesterday and helped me out with some of that. And we've got this top one on. Let's show you how to do this one. We're gonna do a 45 in the corner, in each corner, and perfection's not expected. Trying is. They don't have to line up perfectly. Really, what you got to think about is it being on a plane. If you've ever walked into a house and you've seen drywall wrapped corners and you can see that they're off, this is the process that they screw up or they just don't have experience in. So the first thing we did was we had our wood framing and we put drywall on the ends as caps. And we made sure to get that as plumb and as level as we could. That's gonna be a great foundation for when you put your corner bead on. It's gonna help a ton. So first thing, capping the drywall and fixing any plumb issues that you have in your framing. Then after that, you're gonna start installing the corner bead. The goal of the corner bead is for the corner bead to be higher than the wall and the piece of drywall that you capped, so that mud can be floated. Very small amounts, right? Just enough to cover the screw head, can be floated, and the wall still looks fairly flat, like it's congruent. All right, first thing with the corner bead is we've got to get it measured out. So let's see if I can't not screw this cut up. So I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like that, right? Yep. So I'm going to cut my 45. Pair of 10 snips is the best way to cut these. Now I will tell you, I think this looks a lot nicer and like I said, adds a modern feel to the home. It might be cheaper if you're looking for a cheap option and still looks nice, is casing it in wood. Me personally, I think it's a classic look. It kind of reminds me of an old Spanish style. Even though they use plaster, this is drywall, but it reminds me of a Spanish style kind of feel when you have this finish. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of the Spanish style. All right, now don't let me mess this cut up. This is $5. That's gonna go under. This is gonna go over. Oh my gosh. Like I was dancing with that thing. All right, fit test. It's not perfect, but it does fit. It's a little shy. All right, so here's the challenging part. This point here has to have enough space to cover these nails on this plane and this plane. And so you're really trying to float this corner bead perfectly where it needs to go and lined up. You don't want to go too far down. You don't want to go too far up. And those corner beads have to match for the most part. So you're trying to float it so that it is level and then also good with the sides so that when you are mudding around that corner, you don't have any snags because that'll create a huge challenge for you. And that's pretty level. And that's pretty level. So I like that. So I'm gonna go through and do all the top screws first. Placement, I'm going about every 12 inches. Now, why am I carrying this? That tells me I got room and it's not hitting any screws. Same thing up here. When I run my mud, I'll be good. Did I say I was not a professional? I'd love to hear in the comments if I am jacking this up or what kind of problems I'm gonna have. I'm gonna get my corner good because that's gonna be the biggest challenge. We're way off on level there. So that's good. I need to be down quite a bit. So I went too high on that. So we're gonna bring it down a little bit. And that's almost level. And what's gonna happen is once I start that bottom row and start screwing up, it is going to suck that up so that, here, I'll just show you. Gives me the gap that I need. That's exactly what I wanted. I know that it's not gonna look $4,500 great. And I know that I should invest in a freaking drywall gun. But I'm actually getting pretty good with this little regular drill. Keep in mind that you have to run it all the way down because you could be good in one area and not good in another. So I think that's gonna work out pretty good. The goal is this point and the point on the back are at the same height. When they're at the same height, we're gonna put mud in them. And all of this is gonna be covered up. Ooh. We're gonna put mud in them and all of them are gonna be covered up. We got no snags. So there's gonna be a lot of fill, but it's gonna be good. And then we're doing the same thing here. Everything slides over it good. We're gonna fix this corner here. Same thing here. No snags on any screws straight across. That's the goal in the test as you go. If you screw this up, it will make it really freaking hard for you to make this look good once it's mudded. So as you can see, a lot of mud. We're gonna scrape it on, scrape it on. We're gonna do a thin layer, especially in this joint first, so that it can dry, shrinkage, all that kind of stuff. So we'll put that in there, and then we'll do probably 2 or 3 coats. Because of how novice I am, there's quite a bit of gap there. For someone who's done this and has tons of experience, they're able to put this corner bead on so that they do 1, maybe 2 coats and they're done. I would love to get to that point in another life because I don't like drywall that much. Okay. That's good. Move that. Just for the record, I haven't dropped anything before I got on camera. So here's what I'll say. Your house is framed a certain way and you don't know where that screw is going to bite in. So every time you screw in, you need to pay attention to how the metal moves based on where you want it to go. Right there, this side came down almost 1/8 of an inch. That's gonna make a huge difference in mud if that's my guide rail. So I had to go in there, instead of using the small hole, I used the big hole and it finally seated the way that I wanted to. All right, little manual persuasion and we're all good. Now that the corner bead is in, we need to put down our first layer of mud. For this first layer, we're gonna try to do semi-thin. We don't want it to be too thick because depending on the type of compound you use, it'll crack. There's a lot of shrinkage. So we're gonna do this layer by layer. If you do this light enough, you'll only have to wait 1 day, 24 hours, and then you can put another coat on. I am doing it where it's like just a little bit over 24 hours, and so it's causing me to come back. I do not have the greatest technique of how to get this on the quickest. I see a lot of professionals doing it a certain way, like this. And wow, I think that's the first time that that's worked for me. Yesterday I said, man, if I could get that down, that'd be great. And I might have just got it down. All right, depending on the layer of mud, depends on how hard I press on the actual trowel. So for example, this is the first layer. If I didn't press hard, then I'd be filling that out, the profile of the doorway. And I don't really want to do that. I want as thin as possible. I couldn't do that again if I tried. So that it dries the best and gives me a good foundation. So I'm going to go one pass almost at a 90. I jack that up. That's really the least amount that you would take off. And I do that just to make this next pass controllable. I'm going to go at a 45 and I'm going to press really hard and try to take off as much mud as I can. Not only is that going to give me a smooth finish, it's going to give me a smaller layer, and it doesn't have to be perfect because I know I'm going to have to come in with a second coat here. So that gives me thin layer of mud, starts giving me the profile of the door. So I got to wait 24 hours now, let that set up, and then I'll come back, and what I'll do, actually I'll show you on the next door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a sanding block. I'm going to knock these edges off. Remember, I want my platform to be as smooth as possible. So all the places in which my trowel is going to use as a pivot point, I'm going to knock off. I also went through with a 9-inch round sander and knocked down everything that was outside of my invisible plane between that point and that point. I did the same thing right here. So some of this is still rough, and that's completely fine because my feather is going to be quite large on this. All right, so waited my 24 hours. This was my first coat. If you zoom in, you're going to see that it's cracked as all get out. I use general purpose mud on this. It matters. I should have used the less weight and less shrinkage because this was a pretty big gap. There was a lot of material in between this. So we're going to see how this turns out, but I think it'll be fine. If I wanted to be crazy, I could come in here and spot fill. Let's see how it works. It's actually working pretty good. And that'll just get sanded down. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'm using the same trowel that I used the first time. It's just, remember, on the first one, we went down heavy at a 45 and we pressed in on the knife. So on this one, I am not going to press in on the knife. That's just going to give me my next layer to build the foundation on. I'm really happy with that pass. I don't think this one's going to go as well as that last one. I don't love it, but it is second coat. I think this fills a lot of voids, so I'm going to not touch it. When I sand it this time, I'm going to go through with a sanding long block, so 9 inches by 2 inches. I'm going to sand that way, maybe the orbital sander as well. And I'm just going to fix the things that need filled and the spots that don't line up well. All right, that's second coat. All right, so this is second coat dried. So this one has had the second coat on. Very few bubbles. If I'm gauging, I have literally a 1/16 of an inch in the center to get. And so for this, I want to make sure that my mud is really mixed up and really good. This could be the worst way to do this, but I feel like I'm making progress. I'm barely pressing whatsoever. I actually really like how that turned out. Let's see. Oh, that's probably my best run of the day. So I'm super stoked about that. Keeping a little bit on the knife as it goes down. I'm very, very lightly pressing at all, if at all. So doing a 45, which is not straight out, but sitting right here. Oh, I'm ridiculously close to being straight on. On this one, no imperfections. No imperfections in the mud, and so needs to be heavily kneaded and no small stuff. This is where you got to make sure your knife is clean at every pass. So basically from here on out, any pass, make sure and clean your knife. That was just for the edges. I'm pretty happy with that. I know it's really hard to tell, but look at that. It's got a nice solid gleam. That's awesome. Super happy with this door frame. Bam! I like it. I like it a lot. All right, that's third coat. So when I do the knife test and just barely put it up there because I'm gonna make sure my tip is clean, I can barely see in between it. But it doesn't make an indent there on the mud. So I think that third coat is probably the final coat. I will let that dry, we'll sand it down. The next one is going to be a hard press to just fill in all the cracks, any air bubbles or any imperfections, and then we're good. So to wrap this episode up, we're gonna do a quick walkthrough. We've got a shotgun shell freaking patch job here. We've got a little bit in the pantry. It's kind of crazy all over the place. Pantry needs real attention this week. We got our first sub-layer of mud on there. We're gonna get ready and go through and put mud and patch that up probably today. Same thing over here. We've got a little bit of finish work, a little bit of combination of initial patch, a lot of kitchen work. Don't judge me. We don't have the drywall in, but we got the first layer of mud up there as well. All the doorways were really the focus in what I said that we were gonna get y'all this week. And so that's what we focused on. The reason we did so much work in here is because it looked like the plains of Nevada. You could clearly tell that I don't even know if they did one coat of mud. They may have just put it on and forgot to actually smooth it. So we couldn't let that be. This is similar to the same. Maybe they just couldn't do corners and taping, or they only paid or didn't know what to ask the contractors to do because it was pretty blah. Same with this, we have denial right down the right-hand side center of the closet, which is gonna be the fun experiment that I've been wanting to do for a long time. The American bathroom, we have very little wallpaper left. If you see, this is actually where we're gonna cut the wall back. So I told the wife, do not take all that off because you'll be wasting your time. We've got a little bit of pipe wrap to put around some of the pipes, but she's got most of the wallpaper off. So between my sister and my wife, they squared it away. And we've got some interesting thoughts up there. Yeah. So that lets me know it's not a load-bearing wall. We're just gonna have to skim coat this, but we got some good plans for the American bathroom. Even though we're surrounded by drywall work, we did have to get the ceiling fan for the bathrooms kind of measured up and see how they came off, all that good stuff. And guess what? We're like 2.5 inches short of drywall. So the new fans are 2.5 inches narrower, like this. So there is going to have to be some patchwork. But I wanted to know that in the drywall stage so that we didn't have to come back and do it. This week, long video, and I'm okay with it. I know it's going to be about 20, 21 minutes long, and my 49 people are only going to watch to about minute 6. So I think I'm just making it for me at this point. So 20 minutes is fine. If you do watch all the way through, I want to say thanks for hanging in there. I really appreciate you. If you like this content, let me know what you like about it. I'd love to hear some stuff in the comments. We were doing good at getting comments, and we've kind of slowed down. So would love to hear your feedback. Give me any direction that you think we should go for in 2026, because any good business owner, any good person who is building something has to be looking at what they're building in November, December to get ready for January. The cheapest, easiest way to support us is like, subscribe, comment, send it to a friend. Any exposure we get, just like you saw with the fraud video on the property, I would say that the channel probably doubled in views just because of that video. So it really helps when we get the word out there and people start watching the content. Lets us know what is really sticking and what just sucks, what people don't want to see. So appreciate it in advance. And as always, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. If someone hasn't already asked you this week, do me a favor. Make the day you deserve. Oh yeah, you guys should have a good Christmas too. I forgot to say that. Like, Merry Christmas. Have fun. I hope you get everything you never needed. And someone like me, an upcoming Santa Claus, can bless you or make you holy, or that's weird. Santa Claus and Christianity is weird. Just have a good Christmas. I always do not want to screw this up. And I just screwed it up. What is wrong with me? So what I'm going to do... Oh, it was so close. Fucked it up. Recovery!